It's about the restoration of our republic. We want to educate, encourage, enable the power. We stand for integrity, honesty, self-reliance, self-defense, and most importantly, no compromise on our foundational principles. This is America's Voice Now.
Find America's Voice Now on Facebook and at americasvoicenow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
Good morning, America. You're listening to America's Voice right here, right now. My name is Michael Evans. I'll be with you this morning as we explore issues, news, and information. Put our own twist on it. Kind of give you some background and understanding of what we're seeing going on around us. There are a number of things that we're going to talk about this morning, not the least of which is what is all the secrecy surrounding the Trans-Pacific Partnership Treaty that is being negotiated in secret and has been for the past 5 years. I mean, what is with all the secrecy? Why is everything that has to do with anything within the Obama administration a secret? It's a secret from Congress. It's a secret from the public. I mean, the only people who know about this and are involved in the negotiations of it are insiders from Wall Street and the corporate masters who run this thing. I mean, it's really shameful. And we're going to look into what we're seeing as one of the trends that's really driving this thing. Our second topic this morning is going to be Missouri's Second Amendment Preservation Act and how it's moving forward. And also, I'm going to throw the NRA under the bus here because they made a major mistake and a faux pas, and they've refused to retract what they've done. I'm incensed that tens of thousands of loyal and hardworking Missourians have worked to try to get this issue brought to the table and resolved so that we would have the strongest legislation against federal overreach related to firearms in the nation. And the NRA came out there and stuck their big nose into our business wrongly and actually messed up the works. I spoke to an ILA representative yesterday, and I was very unhappy with what he had to say. And I'm going to describe it to you. I'm also going to ask you to call the NRA ILA and tell them, mind your own business. And if you're not going to get the facts right, the last thing we need you to do is send out an alert to millions of Missourians that's got the wrong facts. How embarrassing and shameful. Embarrassing for the NRA. Shameful for the fact that they have worked against the best efforts of Missourians on this issue. And I'm ticked. Our third issue. Why is Europe buying the debt that China and Japan are apparently dumping? That doesn't bode well, one, for a couple of reasons. The first and foremost is China and Japan are the two largest holders of our national debt. And perhaps even more importantly, that the entity that's buying that debt as it falls off of their books is Europe. Well, with all due respect, Europe is in an awful lot of trouble itself. And how they expect or anticipate that they're going to be able to pick up the slack that China and Japan are gonna create is beyond my expectation or understanding. Our fourth topic will be who really presents the greatest threat to the United States of America. And I'm going to talk on a broad range of topics here because the truth is it's not, I don't think, some of the primary suspects that are ordinarily are associated with being a threat. In other words, we're told every day that, the greatest threat against the United States is terrorism, and the greatest threat against, well, the truth of the matter is something far different, I believe. And we're going to talk a little bit about it. And we're seeing examples of how the United States is descending into an oppressive regime, much like what you see in Venezuela. And the only difference, I think, is that, our people may be a little bit slicker. They may be a little bit cleaner about it. They've got a media that is really in their pocket. And so it may not be quite as apparent. And unfortunately, we've never experienced this. We're breaking new ground here in the United States. And so I think a lot of folks are resistant to seeing reality for what it is. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. Let's tap into our first topic. By the way, if you'd like to catch our program on our listen line, I strongly encourage you to do so. This listen line is provided to us by a company called Audio Now, and they offer us an ability to have folks listen to radio by phone. So if you're outside of our terrestrial broadcast area, or you don't have internet access, or you've got slow internet access and you don't want to download feeds or things like that, or if you're traveling and you just want to listen to the latest program on your cell phone, your NSA personal tracking device, then you can do that too. That phone number is area code 415-325-0725. And the beautiful part of that is it costs you nothing, as long as you've got unlimited long distance either on your NSA personal tracking device or your home phone, which is also your personal tracking device. And the neat part is that it costs you nothing to use the service, and it costs us nothing to provide it for you. And I'm very grateful to Audio Now for making that available to us and our listenership. So thank you, Audio Now. Great job you guys have done there. It's their phrase is radio via phone, and it's a great way for people who don't ordinarily have the ability to listen either over the internet or on a terrestrial broadcast to be able to pick up those broadcasts and listen to them every day. Every day we update it, and every day it's a fresh new program. And when you dial in, you get your own program from beginning to end. You can listen to the entire thing. So, okay. The issue here, as I see it on this issue on the Trans-Pacific Partnership, is that there's an enormous amount of secrecy that's going on, number one. And I've talked about this before. In fact, I exposed and read a couple of leaked chapters that we got from WikiLeaks. And then secondarily, and I pointed out to you in that particular episode, what some of the issues were that I took umbrage with, and you should have too. More importantly, though, we're seeing that some of the people that are involved in the negotiations of the TPP are coming straight out of Wall Street and coming straight out of the major multinationals that, quite frankly, are in control of the entire process and all of the negotiations involved. But yet, the people who have to ratify it, i.e. Congress, i.e. the Senate, have been stonewalled. They've begged and pleaded to get copies of these negotiated 26 chapters, and yet they cannot see them. Now, for WikiLeaks to have to leak a document so that our Congress can see it, ladies and gentlemen, there's something desperately wrong. This is the same Congress that has to vote to approve it. How can that be? I mean, what kind of a tin pot dictatorship regime have we turned into, where our Congress has to rely upon WikiLeaks to expose a treaty and the terms of that treaty that they're supposed to vote on? What kind of insanity is this? How can it be? Well, the truth is, the people who are negotiating it, one, are part of the corporatocracy. For an example, a number of the people who are who left their employ in major Wall Street firms have actually were given massive. I mean, Citigroup paid their representative $4 million to leave his employ and to work for the White House as a trade negotiator. Huh? Come on. The truth is that he's only one of numerous others that were involved in this. The Bank of America, the guy who left their firm, Stefan Selig, he received $9 million in bonus pays just before he was nominated to join the Obama administration. Things are awful fishy there. And now he's negotiating a treaty in secret as a trade representative. And what do these banks stand to benefit? How do they stand to benefit? Well, look, the simple truth is these trade agreements are not in the best interest of the average rank-and-file American. These trade agreements are in the best interest of these corporate monstrosities, these multinational, multicultural corporations that are looking for globalization as a simple means and a method to an end. That end is your enslavement to debt and your enslavement to them as a worker drone. That's why Microsoft is so dedicated to the Common Core cause. In fact, what's his name from Microsoft? Bill Gates. Bill Gates came out and actually stated that the premise behind Common Core, which he's wholeheartedly behind and has pumped $5 billion into, that the primary purpose of that was to create people who are, for all intents and purposes, well-regulated to being automatons in industry. They don't want people who are intelligent. They don't want thinkers. They want people who are just smart enough to push the button, just smart enough to flip the switch, toggle this, toggle that, read the instructions, and go on. Why do you think, as part of Common Core, one of the primary aspects of Common Core is that they're not teaching your children to read, they're teaching your children on how to read, not manuals and administrative manuals, not necessarily how to read and utilize critical thinking skills to gain knowledge. This is the equivalent of looking at the days of slavery when the slaves were not allowed to read for the simple purpose that none of the slaveholders wanted those people to gain intelligence, because the minute that they recognized that there was something outside of the little tiny world that they'd been living in, which was essentially this isolated world of a slaveholder's property, right? But remember now, slaves weren't allowed to go to town. They weren't allowed to get they generally never saw the outside of the plantation they were on. So what's the purpose behind all of that? Well, it's real simple. If you keep these people in the dark and they have no idea that there's a world outside of the little bubble that they're living in, then they're easily controlled, and they don't have the opportunity to look outside of their own little isolated location and say, aha, I want some of that. Well, this isn't vastly different. What they're teaching our children in school under Common Core is not how to be intelligent, critical thinkers, how to think for themselves, and how to have creative thought. What they're teaching them to be is little mechanized automatons that do as they're told, make sure that they keep these banks inflated and floated with a lot of debt, all at the expense, frankly, of individualism, freedom, liberty, self-identity, self-reliance, self-governance. That's the truth. And this TPP only plays into that, because what it does is strips away even those limited jobs that have actually been left here in the United States, and it gives these corporate people an opportunity to create an environment where the corporations are making the rules and governments kowtow to them. Why is the mainstream media silent on this? Why are they not talking about it? You don't hear the mainstream media talking about the TPP. Well, I posted 2 articles up on our websites this morning, and I've given you one from the New American, which I thought was rather interesting. See, the truth is that why they're not talking about it is simply the simple reason that they don't, one, have access to the facts, because they're kept in the dark as well. But more importantly, they are owned by the same corporate masters that are pulling the strings and dictating the rules under the TPP. Now, the TTP is only one. There's the TPP and the TTIP. And that the other one is a kind of a quasi-merger, if you will, with the European Union, which is even more disastrous than 13-nation confederacy, including Pacific Rim nations and the United States. I mean, look, we lost the vast majority of the United States manufacturing and production labor to NAFTA and CAFTA. Why would we possibly want to go and do the same thing again under the TPP, which is even more draconian, because what it does is it gives the opportunity for the and I got to tell you, if you're not familiar with this, you really need to understand and do some research on this TPP. 2 of the primary organizers behind it are the RIAA and the MPAA. What are those two organizations? Well, the Recording Industry Association of America and the Motion Picture Association of America. And their primary drives are to totally control and censor the web, the internet. Why? Because they don't like the fact that they're not getting paid when their stuff is shown or their music is played. And the truth of the matter is, they have become, for all intents and purposes, a quasi-dictatorial organization that has an enormous amount of influence on this. I read you from the TPP two of the areas that were, one was environmental, in which the United States is, for all intents and purposes, saddled with these environmental extremist, non-governmental organizations who will, for all intents and purposes, write the legislation and order what the United States has to adhere to regarding environmental issues. I'll be honest with you, I do not want to be subject to the Sierra Club, nor do I want to be subjected to the Nature Conservancy. These people are actually participating in the sense that they will sit on the board. If it's that bad for the environmental issues, then what do you think it's going to be like when we're talking about issues like the motion picture and the recording industries? When they're talking about copyrights and ability for independent and individuals to have patents and things like that. I mean, this is insane, ladies and gentlemen. This is world global governance in a nutshell. And it's being negotiated in secret by a group of elitists and bankers and corporate representatives who represent these corporate. They don't represent you. They don't represent us. They don't represent the country. They represent their own interests. This is a treaty being drafted, created, written, and disseminated by a group of global governance monsters who have no governmental limitations at all, nor do they have an allegiance to a nation or a country or a level of patriotism associated with the host nation, that being us. You know, it's beyond. Look, you can't even accuse these people of treason because they don't belong under a mantle or an umbrella of some kind of a national entity. These people are representing profit. That's it. That's all they care about. They don't care about you, about your kid, whether or not he or she makes it to college. They don't care whether or not you've got some kind of a retirement fund available to you. All of that is only human resource, ladies and gentlemen. And the bottom line is the only thing that matters to them. And they don't care about sovereignty, and they don't care about nationalism, and they don't care about pride in your nation or labor issues. They don't care. The truth is, Wall Street and multinational corporations are the controlling factors here. This guy Fang, in this report on RT, says, many large corporations with a strong incentive to influence public policy award bonuses and other incentive pay to executives if they take jobs within the government. Ladies and gentlemen, that would be the equivalent of, you know, in the 50s or something, communists infiltrating the United States of America and government within it. These people are no different. This is just communism via an alternative method. This is communism by profiteers. And never make the mistake of thinking that the original communism from 1917 and in Russia was not generated and created again by the same profiteers. It was. It was not a political ideology, and it wasn't a movement of the masses of the people. It was simply nothing more than opportunity for a small group of elitists to be able to enrich themselves. And that's all of these totalitarian governments. Makes no difference what label they're under, whether it's socialist or communist or Marxist or anything else. Quote, the controversial TPP trade deal has rankled activists for containing provisions that would newly empower corporations to sue governments. Sue governments. Guess who's going to pay for that? You, through your tax paying. To sue governments in an ad hoc arbitration tribunal method that demands compensation from governments for laws and regulations they claim undermine business interests. Their business interests, not yours. Not our nation's as a general whole. A fact sheet provided by Public Citizen explains how multinational corporations may sue the TPP deal to skirt domestic courts and local laws. The arrangement would allow corporations to go after governments before foreign tribunals to demand that compensation be paid for tobacco, prescription drug, and environmental protections that they claim undermine their expected future profit. Ladies and gentlemen, if our Senate approves this and signs this, this is insane. It is a complete derogation of the sovereignty of the United States of America. And this pig in the White House is actually going out there demanding that he get fast-track authority. Fast-track authority. You know what that means? That means that he can put it up before the Senate, and they can only vote it up or down. They cannot make a single change. There's no amendments allowed. There's no discussion to be allowed. Nothing. All you can do is vote yes or no. And then the arm twisting begins. This is not a way to run a country. This is the way that a republic dies. All right, you've been listening to America's Voice Now. Please join us on our website at americasvoicenow.org. You can find every program that we do up on YouTube at youtube.com/America's Voice Now. Please make sure that you support our sponsors, including the Battery Station at batterystation.com batterystation.com. You can also call them via telephone at 417-257-7799. Make sure that you visit our friends over at Pizza Hut on Porter Wagoner Boulevard, and, of course, any other Pizza Hut across the country. But these particular folks have been instrumental in supporting us on local radio programs, and we appreciate them for that. Make sure that when you get in there on Tuesday night when it's Kids Eat Free and Family Night that you mention that you've heard about it here at America's Voice Now. Jason Henry, an outstanding attorney who handles both state and federal cases, handles criminal and civil issues, and if you're interested in working with him or you can use his assistance, then certainly you can reach him. His telephone number is 417-256-4100. Patriot Cigar and Tobacco Shop, which is on the square in the town of West Plains. You can find them in your local phone book, but you can also visit them on Facebook at facebook.com/Patriot Cigar and Tobacco. You can call them at 257-1776. That's 417-257-1776. They do, by the way, carry accessories and things, and they ship around the nation if you need help. My friend over at Jason over at Wits End Classic Barbershop, who does a great job cutting my hair. And if there's any way that you can participate with him, by all means, get your guy or your husband or your significant other, your boyfriend, in there for a hot lather shave and a haircut. Make sure that you see our friends over at Express Mini Marts 1 and 2. They can be found on Route 14 and the corner of 63 in the old Granny's Cafe building. They have excellent prices on things. They have 2 drive-thrus, 1 in each facility. The other location is directly across the street from the City Pool in West Plains. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to tackle this issue of the Second Amendment Preservation Act, which is moving forward in Missouri, and how that has been working, and what happened with the NRA, ILA, and why they completely messed it up. We'll be back in just a moment. You're listening to America's Voice Now.